Put on a Ike mini flip.
It's a little out of that. Good one on a frog.
Oh my gosh, look how big his mouth is. To be a 4-pounder, if that thing had a gut, that's like a 5 or a 6.
All right, everybody. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to One Objective tonight. Guys, we got a good show lined up for you. We got Dennis Stump from Drop Zone Tackle. He's going to be joining us talking about his business. He's got some phenomenal baits out there that I think would help a lot of people out. It's just different. You know, you see so much out on the market right now, and we'll kind of get into it here in a little while, but he's just got I want to say something a little extra that goes along with some baits. If you guys have never heard of them, you definitely need to make sure you check them out. If you have heard them, you need to go check it out as well. And we'll tell you guys how to find them and all that here in just a little bit. First off, I just want to thank all our sponsors that's helped us out for the last, we're going on our 10th year of doing podcast shows. It's pretty crazy to really think about that. Me and James started this back in a kitchen. I was in a kitchen of my house doing this before One Objective was kayak accessories and bass boat accessories and all that. So to be where we're at now, we're very blessed. Lord has blessed us for sure, and he deserves all the glory on it. So I just want to thank everybody that has supported us. Also want to thank all of our sponsors because, like I say, they've been great. I want to thank Waterland Eyewear. Phenomenal sunglasses. They got different frames. They got different lenses for any kind of conditions, whether it's, you know, you're bed fishing out there, which I love the bed fishers. I love those sunglasses. They're just perfect for keeping the sun, the light from coming inside of your lenses there. They got lenses for cloudy conditions. They got just nice frames for, you know, fishing, and then nice frames for just, you know, casual going out to dinner with your family kind of glasses. You know what I mean? So they got all kinds of different setups for, you know, big heads, little heads. It don't matter what you got. I got a big head, so I love the bed fishers. But also you can, in the link description below, you can go save yourself 15% when you order from them. It helps support the channel, and it also helps support our sponsor as well. Also, I want to thank Missile Baits. Phenomenal soft plastics. John Cruz and Byron and Alex and all of them, they have done a great job with Missile Baits and all the tackle and options that you have for different conditions. The spunk shad has been the big deal for me here lately, with, you know, like everybody's doing right now, throwing a little minnow out there. Spunk shad and the goby color has been phenomenal for me, especially with Smith, and just came back from Heiko, so it was a great color for me down there as well. And also I want to thank Amped Outdoors. They have powered us, you know, up the rivers into kayaks, down the lakes in our bass boats. They've powered charging stations I've had from when we've lost power. Right now we got just a ton of snow and ice, and especially the ice is really bad. I'm hoping we don't lose power, and prayers that go out to ones that have lost power. Hope you get it soon, because it's too cold to be losing power. So, but I got a power box rigged up that I can use to charge phones and all that stuff. So I run some small lights, like vlogging lights. They're nice to have in the house when the power goes out, and you can plug it right in. And but amp batteries have really helped me with you know, on and off the water, shall we say. So also, if you haven't yet, make sure you go check out our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, One Objective Bass Fishing, and also One Objective Outdoors. That channel is growing really well. I want to thank all our supporters there. To have that channel grow as quick as it did, we're very appreciative of that. And we really enjoy doing that channel because it gives us a platform to kind of do a little bit of everything with hunting, fishing, you know, ATV, stuff like that we like doing. So it gives us a platform to do a little bit of everything out there. So make sure you go check that out and hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and get Dennis on from Drop Zone Tackle and talk about what all he has to offer for you guys that love finesse fishing and all that. What's going on, Dennis? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. We're really excited to have you on here and talk about all that you have. But you are the owner of Drop Zone Tackle. Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little about yourself first.
Okay. Well, I'm from the area, and I've been in law enforcement for about 18 years. I've been fishing since I was a kid, and my parents got me into fishing, so I really owe them all the credit for that for that passion. But then a friend of mine, his dad was a tournament fisherman, and he took us out on the lake. And that was the first time I'd ever been on a bass boat or at Smith Mountain Lake. And man, ever since then, I was hooked. And I told, not too long ago, I called him. I was like, you know what? The way I figured up, you owe me about $50,000-$60,000 at this point. I wouldn't have spent any of that if it wasn't for you. But yeah, man, I'm really glad it kept me out of a lot of trouble when I was younger, and it just gave me a passion that just has not gone away. If anything, it has gotten much more intense as I've gotten older and started competing in tournaments and whatnot.
And you've done really well. I mean, I've competed with you against in some of the smaller tournament trails, like, Castaways and all that. And you've whipped my butt several times in there and took my money. And
we do every now and then, but I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, you're a local guy here in Virginia. Very appreciative of, our law enforcement, and it takes a special person to do that. I can tell you that right now. I don't think I'm that kind of person, but it takes special people to do it.
I didn't think I was either, man, but I didn't want to sit by. I did engineering work right after we got married, and I just didn't want to sit behind a desk. And that was something I had, kind of thought about and wanted to do. And man, as soon as I got into it, I met some of the right guys and just squared away Christian guys that those are the guys you want to have your back when it hits the fan. And I kind of fell in with those guys, and it just took off from there. And I've had such a great career. I don't regret any of it. The best, I had a police canine, and that was for sure the most fun thing that I've ever done.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got a couple of friends of mine. So, there's a story a lot of people don't know. I actually tried to get on the police department at one time. I tried to get on Bedford City, and I passed the physical part, but I couldn't pass the math part, and I passed everything else. And then I went to Lynchburg, and you can't even do the physical part there. You got to do the testing first. Okay. And I passed the math, but didn't pass the English this time. And I'm like, okay, Lord, this is not for me. Like, I can see that you don't want me to have this job. So, but I got some friends that have done it, and, I hear some stories sometimes, and I'm like, man, there ain't no way. There ain't no way.
Yeah, we can talk stories all night, but yeah, it's been very rewarding and challenging. And, as the landscape politically has changed over the years, that definitely increases the challenge. But, the Lord kept us all safe, and here we are. So that's, I'm more of a desk job now, just more administrative. My days of chasing guys and kicking indoors, that's over for me. So I'm glad I had that experience, but it gives me time to go on drop zone tackling and other avenues as well.
That's right. That's right. So what got you, we know how you got into fishing. So what got you into doing drop zone tackle? Is it something you're like, I throw a lot of shaky heads and I'm losing them all the time, let me start pouring them, and then did it lead into?
No, that sounds like a logical way to do it, but that's not how it happened with me. So we were fishing, Steve, Chris, and I, we fished a tournament at Leesville Lake. And then, I think we won that tournament. It was a smaller series tournament, and they were biting a drop shot really well. And we had a tournament coming up the next weekend too, and I wanted to go back and be prepared. So I went and would try to duplicate what we were doing. At least it fluctuates not only the depth, it can rise and fall 6 to 8 feet a day. And it's not tidal for those of you guys that aren't familiar with it. It's just a tributary that holds water for Smith, and they regulate the power generation through Leesville Lake. So it has some current, but it's not dependable. And the water will also get dirty if there's rain up the river, and it would normally take a few days to get down there. It can get down there in a couple hours if they lower Smith and push it into the river. I'm sorry, lower Leesville and push it into the river. It pulls all that water down, like it just accelerates the movement of that color. So I went back on, I think it was like a Wednesday, and I go back to try to catch these fish, and I just gotten live scope, and I could see the fish in the trees and the bushes and things like that, the brush piles, dock pylons. But if you didn't get within a couple inches of those fish, they just were not going to bite. So you literally almost have to hit them with a drop shot to get them to bite. So the natural thing is, well, let's throw something else. Let's throw topwater or spinnerbait or crankbait, something moving, a heavy flipping bait, whatever. They wanted nothing to do with that, man. If you've ever fished Leesville, you would swear that some days it's the greatest fishery on the planet, and other days you would swear there's not a fish in there. And that's just Leesville Lake for you. And that was one of those days. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, you got to somehow expand the strike zone without making the baits bigger or faster. So I was thinking about, how do you put a rattle in the drop shot weight? Because you put it in the bait, it negates the natural movement that the company designed for that bait. So I started messing with the idea. I really didn't do anything with it for a while. A couple months later, I was drilling holes in lead weights and doing all kind of stupid stuff. And it finally, I realized why it hadn't been done before, because it was pretty difficult. But finally, I came up with an idea of like it's a custom swivel and how you get the brass tube inside with tungsten beads, because I tried a bunch of different combinations, and ultimately that was the one that worked. So the whole company started with a drop shot weight that rattled, and it has a really loud rattle in it. Lead is a sound dampening material by nature. So to be able to get that sound and vibration out of there with tungsten beads and a brass tube, which is, to me, is the perfect combination. It's really loud, and it a lot of vibration, and it definitely has made a difference for us over the years, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And real quick before we forget, because I wanted to add that they can reach you at, what is it, rattleshot.com? Is that where they can?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Rattleshot.com. Yep.
And I'll put a link below too, so people can check it out there. But yeah, so you started with the drop shot, and like I say, I know Leesville Lake can be really good with a drop shot. You know, I've had some small success, nothing like you guys do when man, when I fish a tournament against you guys, I feel like, not saying y'all do this, this is just me. I feel like when I put in, and I'm like, man, we're catching the crap out. We got 10 or 11 pounds, and then you guys come in with 20 some pounds. I'm like, did they pull out and go to Smith? Like, are they fishing the same way?
We locked up with Smith. Yeah, now we've only had 20 pounds there, like at least like once or twice. And it was one of those days. I promise you, there's nothing different about what we did other than stay in areas we had confidence in. But the one cast that I made to the back of a dock had a 5-pounder on it, and I've casted to that dock 100 times before. But for whatever reason, that day, one of those days just lined up with whatever we were doing. So no, I hear you, man. There's days where he and I, it's like 1 o'clock and we have maybe 6 pounds, and we're like, what in the world are we doing wrong? And there's been, we've come in without a limit there at Leesville before, which really hurts. So you win several tournaments in a row, and then you come in and you got like 9 pounds, and it stings, man. I'm telling you, I feel like I would rather have come in second in all of them than to be expected to win for myself. Like, hey, if we're going here with a lot of confidence, maybe we can win. We'll keep this momentum going, and then you get absolutely humbled, and that's part of the sport, I guess.
Yeah, that's fishing. And that's something about these lakes around here. I've been to a lot of different lakes across the country, but it always seems like when you go to a different lake, Fork, for instance, or you go to Chickamauga, or where these big fish lakes they're known for lots of fish. You can catch them. And then you come back and you're like, man, I did great. And then you come back to Smith and you're like, what in the world? Like, why can't I? Like it's just I don't know what it is. Those lowland reservoirs just are so much better. And then you come here, that's why I always say guys like from Claytor Lake, they come in here and they really beat the brakes off of us sometimes. You know what I mean? Because they're fishing such a tough fishery. When they come here, it probably feels easy to them. I don't know. They just figured it out.
That's happening right now at Smith. There's guys that are coming from Claytor and that Dylan kid, where I don't know what his home lake is, but he is really doing well. And I think the same thing. He's been so used to tough fishing, and he comes here and it's not as tough, and he's able to run with what he likes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely crazy, the differences in different fisheries when you hit them. But anyways, getting back to you made a bait to kind of be just a little different. So, when there's days that you can throw just a regular drop shot and catch them, and there's days that this ain't working, you're able to throw on your rattle shot and maybe get just a few extra bites, or maybe the key bites. Maybe it ain't the little one, it's the bigger bites. You know what I mean?
Something that was cool about it, what I started finding out was, if you shorten your leader, this is the drop shot weight, and you shorten your leader and the bait is, maybe 4 inches above it, that weight is on the bottom. And if you come to the shows, any of the trade shows around here, I try to explain this in the booth. This is on the bottom, and now it's sounding and feeling to the fish with its lateral line like a crawfish. And then it's on the bottom, so coming back at an angle to the boat, that bait is now in a natural position as far as water column goes, that fish would be expected to hear and feel something that to him was a crawfish. It doesn't matter if it's a pink robo worm or whatever you like to throw. I don't think the color is so important as the contrast of the color, but that's a whole different topic. I just think that a bait that's non-threatening and in a natural position when that fish is used to hearing and feeling it. And now you've appealed to like 3, and if you do sense, 4 of their 5 senses, you're exponentially more likely to get that bite than not, because it's just a much more natural, non-threatening presentation than a normal drop shot. You're calling them, your strike zone's a lot bigger. You're calling them from distance, and you're giving them something else that drop shots don't give them. It's really just science. It's so simple, but man, I can't stress enough how big of a deal it has made for us, how big of a difference it's made for us, over the last few years fishing tournaments.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your shaky head here a little bit.
Yeah.
You got kind of the same concept. You got a regular shaky head, but you got rattles in it, which is something that, like you say, they make small little rattles that you can put in your worm or whatever like that. But I feel like what you got here, you get a little bit more rattle out of it. It's a little bit bigger rattle. You know what I mean? So you get more sound out of it.
Yeah, that's that there. You can see the screw lock, and that is a 4/0 mustad hook, and the rattle in there. This is just a laptop, so I don't know how good the mic is, but
sounds good.
Yeah, appreciate it. So it also has a brass tube with tungsten beads, and the one thing that we did with the shaky head was I had to go through several different thicknesses of the tube, because if we're skipping docks like a swim hunt lake, I don't want to hit a metal dock pole or wooden dock pole and then bend it up the first time. Just like a mega bass jerkbait, if you throw it around rocks in the dock long enough, you're going to knock the bill off eventually. Yeah, you can hurt these, but I think I have been throwing these since I made them, since I've had the prototypes in, and I think I bent one tube to where it wouldn't rattle anymore. So they're as durable as I was hoping that they would be, and I can, all of us can buy whatever shaky heads we want, and I can promote them, but I don't have to fish them in my boat, because who's going to know, right?
Yeah.
I promise you, that's the only shaky head I have in the boat, because it has made such a big difference. My favorite is the 3/16, which we're currently out of, but I like skipping that under docks when it's super shallow, because when I keep my rod high, I don't get that 3/16 hung up near as much, but you are naturally going to get into the rock. So every time you pop it out of a rock, you're getting that rattle, sound, and vibration, and put on your favorite bait, and it's done really well for us.
And does it skip really well too with, having that? Because it's smooth, you know what I mean? So it's nothing, not like a football head, football heads.
That's a good question. I think that, I think it depends on the bait that you put on. I think all fishermen, they hate to give out secrets, but something that's really worked well for me over the last few years is putting like a Yum Dinger, just because you could put a single in there, but they're much more expensive. But that Yum Dinger is a round, very do nothing, no ribs, no floppy tail. Number one, especially when the water's cold, it has a lot less action. So I think the fish are more apt to bite it. And it also pairs really nicely with that head, and it makes such a compact design. It's almost, at that point, you're getting to the micro jig kind of presentation as it goes under the dock. And I think it skips really well. If you put a robo worm on it, it doesn't skip near as well. If you put a zoom trick worm, that's kind of in the middle. But I think the thickness of that Yum Dinger has really helped with the skipping and that do nothing action, and just let the sound and vibration and the visual aspect of that take over. Bites with it, I certainly have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely a thicker profile bait. That's like throwing like a missile baits destroyer compared to a D-bomb. A destroyer can skip good, but the D-bomb's a lot better. It's a thicker, wider presentation. You know what I mean? It skips up under there a lot easier than
doesn't have all those appendages dragging on the water. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, and like I say, the baits that you use are going to make a big difference. But having that round head and everything's kind of rounded on the backside of it, I think helps as well. Like you try to skip a football head, you can, but then you take a round shaky head and flip it. It's a big difference. You know what I mean? That football head just likes to grab every time.
Yeah. We have 3 sizes in those. We have the 3/16, which again, I really like for shallow dock fishing. If, let's say, like this time of year, you'll fish the front of a dock, but it's not all that likely you're going to go to the back and skip in a foot of water. Maybe, we all know that they could be there, but the water temperature right now is like 44, 45 at Smith, something like that before the snow. So it's probably a little less now. I probably wouldn't focus on the back of the dock unless it just looked so irresistible that I couldn't stand not skipping under there. But for the front of the docks, I'm probably throwing a quarter. And then when you're doing a little offshore fishing, some deeper rock piles, real deep docks on the front, like ones that are on bluff, something like that, I'd probably go to the 3/8. And those are the three sizes we have. We're probably going to come out with the 1/8 ounce now that we've got the technology right for that because of our newest product. But that was something that a lot of people wanted. So that's probably coming out soon as well.
Okay. And then on the drop shot weights, we didn't actually go over that. What is the different sizes you have on your rattle shots?
So we have two different types. We have the line grip and the line tie, and that's simply the swivel. That's a preference of whether people want it to grip on. I personally use the grip, but I tie a knot on it on the lower portion of that swivel so it doesn't break and come off. Or you have the line tie, simply tie it on or use it as a free rig. So we have those two swivel types, but we have 5 sizes. They're 1/8 ounce, 3/16 quarters, 3/8 and half, and you can get those either in the line grip or the line tie.
Okay. And then you talking about your free rig here. We'll show that. Well, this is a rattling rig. It's not a good picture. I didn't adjust this right before the show. I should have. Yeah. Yep. There you go.
Let's see if I can get it right. There we go.
And that's been a popular thing here lately. Like guys starting to throw like a bigger worm on something like that.
Yeah. So the idea behind this was, it's called a Zika rig, spelled with a J, but pronounced Zika. And Gamakatsu, they have one. They call it the Jika rig for the G. And then Owner has one called the Owner rig. But ours, we took the same technology that we have in our rattle shot weights, and then we put it in this weight as well. So all of these have that brass tube with the tungsten beads inside. And if those of you who haven't fished it, you might think it looks like a Tokyo rig, like a miniature Tokyo rig, and it kind of does. But some of the cool things that it does is you tie, that's a welded metal ring that's coming out of the hook, and that's what you tie your line to. It has a split ring that goes to the weight. That's simply just to allow freedom of movement for the weight. But you tie to this welded metal ring. It's not going to come off. You're going to tie above the weight. So you're going to tie here where my fingers are pinching it, if you can see that. So your line's going to go here. Now what happens is that line falls straight, just like this. So you can take where it used to, maybe you would have to throw an ounce to punch in grass or mats or whatever. You could probably get by with a 1/2 ounce. And because it falls completely vertical, a traditional Texas rig, the line goes down and then back up into the nose of the weight. You're flipping weight, whatever you're using. So it creates a V. It takes a little bit more space to get in there. Not a lot, but some. But this falls completely vertical, weight first, no line attached to the weight at all. So it goes through there. And the same concept goes with laydowns and brush piles and whatnot. We have 1/4 ounce, 3/8 and halves, and 3 different size hooks. For all of those. We have a 3/0, a 4/0, and a 5/0. They're all VMC hooks on these. And people flip it. Like bed fishing is cool. You could throw the 1/2 ounce on there with a 3/0 hook, have a little bit smaller bait, but you can shake the rod and you're getting it to rattle and shake around in there, but you're not really moving it out of the strike zone. That's why I go with that heavier weight. And if you really wanted to get tricky with it, you could probably take 2 of those 1/2 ounce weights and put it on the same rig and throw it in there. And then it's not coming out of the bed, but man, they're going to be clinging against each other. You're going to get sound and vibration, but you're just getting that little tiny bait in the bed. That's a pretty cool way to do it. My favorite way to fish that rig is kind of sneaky. Is you go on like a long rocky point and you throw it out like a crankbait. If you guys like fishing a crankbait, but you don't always have the wind to do so, if you're on a crankbait bite and the wind dies, or if they're biting it in the morning, they're not biting it later in the day, you can take that same rig and you throw it out there with like a crawl bait on it. That D-bomb is good. BizBaits makes the cutter crawl. That's really good. I like the baby cutter crawl on a 4/0 hook. And you put that on there and you throw it out. You keep your rod tip up and you just reel it slow. And it's on the bottom, and the crawl is swimming perfectly, but the weight down there is banging around and hitting every rock. So you're getting all that sound and vibration, but you're getting a nice subtle movement with that crawl. And it's not the big bulky crankbait with the hooks coming off of it. So you don't need the wind to get that bite. And you can pick up a few extra fish doing that if the crankbait's not working.
And also too, like talking about crankbait, sometimes depending on if you change locations and this and that, and you're trying to get it there a little deeper to them fish,
right?
You're not trying to change up crankbaits. You know what I mean? You know, when you hit that bottom, this you can throw out there and like say, you just get a little more extra bites and less time tying, changing baits or having
That's a good point. You're right. Sometimes you try to get to that, like just past that 12 to 15 foot, where you see them on your live scope or whatever, and you can't quite get the crankbait down there. That's a great point. It's not something I've ever really thought of, but I usually typically throw it shallow. You have to try that.
Yeah, exactly. So, so now that you got another bait, it's for pre-order right now. This is your minnow head.
Yep.
And let's talk about that, because this I like, because everybody that live scopes knows about throwing a minnow. I mean, it's everywhere you go, you're throwing a minnow.
Right.
But there's a little bit different aspect in it, because sometimes you got fish that you can throw over top of. They either don't acknowledge it. Now, and it could be because you're not right over top of them as you think you are, or it's just, they've seen 100 minnows coming over their head. Maybe this
they can tell you what brand bait it is when it comes by.
Yeah, they're like, that's not a Z2. I'm not going to eat that, or that's a
Yeah, I hear you, man. Those fish are so frustrating.
Yeah. But yeah, tell us a little bit about this, because I like where you're going with this. I think this is, especially, you get in some spots where the water's a little dingy. Especially like right now, you're going to have the backs of the creeks. They're going to start getting a little dingy. We got all this runoff that's coming in from all this snow and ice. It could call, so, you could be out there in the main channel fishing and you ease on back. It's a little dingy. Sometimes you got to get this right in front of their face for them to even pay any mind to it. Now you got to rattle.
Yep, for sure. So it does two things. When you go to the back of the creeks this time of year, like you said, it's going to be dirty, but there's also, I don't care how cold the temperature gets, there's going to be bait back there. And some of those creeks you go in, especially if it has incoming water, it's going to have bait back there. I don't exactly know the reason why. I just know that that's what happens. And have you ever seen it in the fall when there's in the back of a creek, you throw your minnow back there or your swim bait or whatever, and it just blends in with the million bait fish around. This is another way to separate your bait from that. It's just adding. This is designed with a little bit smaller rattle tube. There it is there. And the reason for that is we did not want to overpower it with the rattle. We wanted it to be subtle, because the technique of twitching a minnow around is a subtle technique, but it also can be used as a swim bait. And as a swim bait swims, it has a natural rocking motion on the head. If you guys ever look at it underwater, I mean, it's just doing this, and which is also the same action we impart on the minnow by twitching the rod. So you'll get a very slight tick for that. The fish are really sensitive this time of year. I think they're really in tune with their environment. If you ever landed on, you made your cast out there and the fish is like 15 foot down, but as soon as your bait touches the water, it just takes off to the bottom.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that they're pretty in tune with that. And if they're in the right position and they're going to eat, there's really not much you can do to screw it up. They're just going to eat. And that does happen, but there are some, that's not what this is for. These are for the harder to catch fish. When you go out there on days where you throw to, 1,000 fish, it feels like, and you catch 10 of them, this may get you 5 or 10 extra bites throughout the entire day, because no one else is throwing something that has the sound and vibration in it without mimicking or without destroying the movement. That's so natural why everyone throws this. And the one really cool thing about it is you see that line tie. See how long that is coming out of the head?
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is because you can still tie a loop knot to it, or you can tie directly to it. I personally tie a loop knot, but you are giving that thing, like, if I do it in the tank, and I did it in Richmond and Raleigh, you can almost get that bait to turn completely upside down on your rocking motion.
Wow.
And for most, by now, everyone pretty much knows about it. But if you don't know why that would be important, if you use a two-tone color bait or something like this that has a different color top to it, when it rocks, it's a visual flash. Think about it like a spinnerbait blade, how it has that visible flash as it goes through the water. With this right here, when it's rocking, you're also getting that flash, but it's just a color flash. So you don't have bulky hardware to do that. But anyhow, that's our SS minnow head. And the reason that we called it the SS minnow head is because the SS stands for either swim bait or strolling. So it's really made like a 2-in-1 head. And we'll have those in 1/8 ounce. And this is actually the first time I've had the pack. I just got these in, so it's the first time anyone's seeing the pack.
Oh, yeah.
Those are 1/8 ounce. There is 3 to a pack. We're going to have 1/8 ounce, 3/16, quarters, and 3/8. And we'll have 3 different colors. And what you see on the screen there, that's, green pumpkin. We're calling it the go-to green, because for me personally, it's kind of my go-to. And I think a lot of people like that particular color. But as we're targeting different bait fish, we'll have a blue shad and a green shad. And basically what that is it's a white head. The top half is going to be blue and then fade into white, and then green and fade into white. So those will be our 3 colors. So we have 12 different options, sizes, and colors. And like you said earlier, they're available for pre-order on our website at rattleshot.com. The expected ship date is probably it's supposed to be the end of this month. I just texted a guy a little while ago, and he said they're pushing the project for whatever that means. But I'm hoping at the end of this month, or at worst case scenario, first week in March. There's no guarantee, but that's what the goal is. And it looks like it's hopefully going to be that.
Can I have that package you just held up?
maybe.
I just kidding.
These are the only 4 that exist. They're all 1/8 ounce, and I've been using it as a prototype, and I've lost one to a big striper.
Yeah.
But I've caught a lot of fish. I had some video in the booth at Raleigh and Richmond, and I had some stuff on the website. But I have really caught a lot of nice fish with that. I think the first 3 fish I caught, there was 2 5-pounders and a 4-pounder.
Oh wow!
It is time to do that now. I get it, but those fish, they did follow it. 2 of them actually bit it, missed it, and usually on this kind of presentation, that's kind of a death sentence. But those fish stayed engaged, and I was able to just keep working the bait. I didn't panic, and it came back to the boat and they ended up biting it on that very same cast. So, it's still new to me as well. So I'm trying to learn all the ins and outs. I feel like it made a difference, but who knows? But it definitely didn't hurt. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that is crazy how them fish are sometimes. I call them one and dones. You know what I mean? Like you see it a lot on the river too, like with blow ups. Normally I can, like on Smith, for instance, you get one that hits a buzz bait or something. You can follow up with a slow sinking worm or something. I do that on the river, man. And I'm like, I might as well keep on going because half the time they're one and done. You know what I mean? Like they just, and you get the same stuff with the minnow. Like they'll come up for whatever, they shoot off the bottom like a missile and they'll hit that thing wide open and never get it. And I'm like, how did you even?
I don't know if they're eating it and letting it go so fast, but I've also had them shoot up. I've had them shoot up so fast that my partners dropped his rod to get the net. I mean, because it's 100% this fish is going to bite, and then they never touch it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually had that. So we went to Heiko last Thursday, and I was on a jerk bait on several of them. You seen them out there off the points, and I'm like, oh man, just the way they were set up. I'm like, something's gonna hit this. And they'd come up like a missile and just blow the bottom of that jerk bait up and never get it. And I'm like, how in the world? Yeah, mega bass. I mean, they got sharp hooks, man. And I mean, you got 3 sets of hooks there that they're just missing. So, but no, I really like that concept right there. And I'm excited, when you get them in, I like to get and get some of those. Now, where can, not only on your website, do you have other tackle stores that carry your stuff or?
Yeah, the main one here, local in Lynchburg, is WW Novelty. That's on Lakeside Drive in Lynchburg. And then at the lake, Smith Mountain Lake Tackle Shack or Smith Mountain Tackle Shack, they have all of our baits as well, and they've already pre-ordered the heads. Rock Outdoors carries some. This is just local places to us, but we're on Tackle Warehouse. Fish USA, Missile Baits also carries a good portion of our products as well. And by the way, in the intro, I heard you say you wanted to give a shout out to Missile Baits for everything they've done. But for me personally, John, I reached out to John Cruz, just a cold call one time, and he has been like unbelievable. Just a super, super great guy, so helpful, and he has absolutely no reason to be. But he has never shied away from answering questions or pointing me in the right directions. And I probably wouldn't be where I was at without his help and assistance. So, I hope he hears this one day, but he has been such a good friend.
Yeah, John, I've had the utmost respect for John because even at the trade shows, you go and watch him. He talks to everybody. He talks to them like he's known them. You know what I mean? Like he don't ever belittle nobody. You know what I mean? I've been around a lot of pros at some of these shows, and a lot of them are just like me and you. They're just great guys, and then some of them you can tell they're just like, all right, let's roll with this kind of.
Yeah, they're ready to get out of there for sure.
Yeah, and John has never seemed like that. It's like he legitimately listens to you when you got something going on when you're talking to him. So, but John and Byron and Alex and all them guys have been such a big help with us. And like I say, they're great for the community. They do a lot. They help out with a lot of the, like Rick Tilley's tournaments and, they sponsor a lot of local events and other events as well. But, for us, this area here, they've done a lot for the community and the fishing community as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And to get back to some of the stores, we also sell to a distributor. So they sell to lots of dealers. So it's almost impossible for me personally to know where all the stores are that carry the product.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been more successful than I ever thought it would be. that would make it sound like I'm making a lot of money, but I'm definitely not. A lot of it just goes back into new product research and just trying to grow and have more inventory, and maybe one day I'll make a little profit. But right now it's a lot of fun. One of the coolest things is my kids have been able to see, like, I had an idea, I worked on it in the basement. I remember, I tell the story sometimes. I came upstairs from the basement, and when I first figured it out, this is after like a couple months of trying, and I showed my wife. I was like, "Oh, check it out." She was like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess." But anyway, my kids have seen that, and then they've also seen, like the website, and then we went to a Green Top one time. That's another store that carries it, and they saw the products in there, and all those are just really cool moments. And recently, my oldest daughter, who's doing an early college program, she texted me the other day about wanting to start her own business, doing some clothes and stuff, like some sweatshirt designs. So that is one of the goals that I had, just to be able to see that if you have an idea, just go with it. It may not work, but it may, and just to try to create an atmosphere where it's positive and reinforcing, and it seems like it's working. So that's probably been the coolest part of all of this. I've met a lot of super great people, but to see it affect my kids has been really awesome.
Well, it shows hard work pays off. You know what I mean? Like, it might not pay off right away, but if they see you keep trying and trying and trying, that's why I try to instill in my kids. Cause I've been doing this now. We're on our 10th year of the podcast, but we didn't start One Objective like as a business for product until probably 2009, 2000. No, sorry, that was wrong date. No, different time. It was like 2017 or 2018. I mean, before we really, and then 19 is when we really like, okay, this is kind of starting to take off, and then COVID hit, and then that's when it really took off. But yeah, just showing that hard work, you keep putting the time in and really dedicate to this product or business, that it can happen. You know what I mean? I see so many businesses out there that people will start doing well, and then it kind of just folds, and it's like they kind of go lax on it. You know what I mean? Like
I've had those days and months. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. The shows really, they re-energize me a lot.
Yeah.
I get to see the other dealers that I met, Biz Baits and Fish Stick Rods, and I mean, I could name everybody, and they're so kind and encouraging. And not too long ago, I got a text from one of the guys at Biz Baits, the guy that owns it, Brian, and he was like, "Hey man, you're doing a great job. Keep it up." And man, that was in a low point in the business, so that meant so much. So yeah, it's that I'm re-energized this time of year. It's also really cool that pushing out a product that's viable for this time of year, and things that are a bait that are ahead that people are going to use and be able to have success with, and tell me their stories about it. Man, it's really cool to see that, and that really is what keeps me going, because it's not always the money, that's for sure.
Exactly. I mean, it's really hard. Like me and James did J&J Custom Tackle years ago. Some people know about it, some people don't. And like I say, it is a lot of work, man. Tackle is hard because it's so monotonous. You know what I mean? It's so much of the same thing, whether it's packaging or pouring or painting or however you do it, it's so monotonous. And like you say, you can get some low points in the business because you're kind of like, man, is this really worth it? And then you have somebody, like you say, they come up and they tell you, man, I love your bait. This is done good. Or you got another business that tells you, hey, keep it up. When you got other businesses recognizing you, it means a lot.
Yeah, that's nice for sure.
So, but no, man, I've seen your tackle on Facebook for a while now, and for some reason, Dennis, when I see you out fishing Leesville or Smith or something, I just never put it together.
Yeah, that's all right, man. It's hey, when I'm on the water, man, I got one thing on my mind. It's not advertising.
That's right.
It's just fishing, man, having a good time. So try to leave that. It's been nice though, man. The people, I have a really good base of like repeat customers, and it's been really cool to see. But thank you for inviting me. I really do appreciate it.
Man, it was good having you, and I think you're a super humble guy, and I'm very appreciative of your services, like say, to our community as well, being a police officer, and looking forward to seeing your business continue to grow. And maybe we can work something out, and we can start carrying some of your baits in our store and on our website as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So definitely would love to do that. So, but Dennis, I mean, do you have anybody else you like shout out to or anything like that before we let you go?
Yeah, sure, man. Obviously my family, I can't tell you how many times they've helped me package weights and do small tasks around the business when I'm feeling overwhelmed, like right before the show season starts or things like that. So my wife, my kids, they've always been very supportive. My parents as well. My mom she's the best weight packager on the planet because I drop stuff off with her. I'm expecting to be done in like a week. She calls me like the next morning. She's like, "Hey, I stayed up and did all this." I'm like,
That's good.
I try to pay her, and she doesn't want any money. But yeah, I have such a great supporting family. So I thank that and thank God for helping me get to where I am and keeping me focused on hopefully what's next.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, one thing we did want to cover. We talked about this before I let you go. Is I hope y'all don't hear my dogs going off. My wife and them just got home, but you are doing a class on forward facing sonar, and we wanted to talk about that.
Appreciate you bringing that up. So this probably not for everybody. If you use it every time you go fishing and you have a really solid understanding of forward facing sonar, this particular course may not be for you. But I spent about 6 or 7 months writing a course on forward facing sonar, and I did it because one, being an entrepreneur, it's an opportunity. But the real I guess the opportunity there for other anglers is that the wave now and has been for several years facing sonar. So people feel almost obligated. If they're going to compete, they have to have this equipment. They have to have a 10 or 12-inch screen or bigger now. They have to have forward facing sonar, whether it be Humminbird, Lowrance, or Garmin. But then the problem is they get out on the water, the companies are quick. And I use Garmin and I love Garmin. They've been incredible at customer support. But they're quick to sell you all this equipment, but there's no real, other than time on the water, there's no real explanation, because if the other anglers that are really, really good at it and they're competing, they don't want to tell you anything.
Yeah.
So what I did was I took all of the complaints that I hear constantly at the shows, which is a really big customer base, to judge like, hey, do you use forward facing sonar? And they'll say, yeah, but I don't know, I need to learn it more, but I haven't used it. And that's what I hear a lot. So I ask hundreds of people over the last 2 years, why don't you use it? What's stopping you? What don't you understand about it? And I took all of those pain points that they had and then tried to address them in a really easy to use course. So the only reason I'm comfortable even trying to sell it now is because of this. I gave it to about, I don't know, 10 or 15 people that are decent to really good with forward facing sonar. And I say, hey, you guys understand it. Please read this book if you have time. It's free. Just tell me what you think. And I got positive feedback from everybody that read it. And then recently at the shows this year, I gave it to five different people for the same conversation we just talked about. Hey, why don't you use it? What could you learn? What could be better? What's frustrating? And they told me, and it was covered in the book. And the book has, I say book, it's a PDF that you can skip through chapters. It also has videos. It goes through settings, and I'll give you a quick one. Once you start, let's say you have Garmin. Once you start, go through a factory reset. Let's get back to 0, and then I'll show you how I set mine up, and it'll have you on the water, assuming that it's. By the way, I've seen transducer mounted backwards like 3 times. So that is an issue, because if you're putting it on the port side versus the starboard side, it's easy to do. So the book also goes through that. It has links directly to the manufacturer about the installation with pictures on how to mount it correctly. But let's assume that we've gotten past that. The book talks about the factory reset. With Garmin, I went through a video on how to do it quickly, but it also is spelled out in this course. And then one of the coolest things that I've used personally is sonar pausing, screen pausing. So let's say you come up to a brush pile, what you think is a brush pile, but you can't tell. Maybe it's bait. You don't know because you're not that good with it. But it looks like a fish. So let's see if we can dial this in. So you pause the screen, and then you go through your settings. You go through contrast, color gain, which is really cool to play with. The actual appearance, the color setup. Like I like a color called rusted steel, and I go over in this course why is a two-tone color so important. And then it tells you all about it. So once the screen is paused, your boat can drift. It doesn't matter. Your screen's going to stay on there. But as you go through these settings, it's going to change what that object you're looking at looks like. So you're going to be able to dial it in and see the branches. Now that you realize this is a brush pile, you're going to be able to see the branches. Once you get it dialed in right, you're going to be able to see the fish. Well, guess what? The rest of the day, you're set. You're done. And maybe for the future. I haven't changed the settings on my unit in the last year and a half, 2 years. So it goes over the grid lines, when to use them, when not to use them. It goes over the orientation of the transducer. Should you leave it in auto? Should you leave it in only forward or down? How to eliminate that dead space where it goes 0, where you don't want to see behind your boat. You could do that. And it goes over a lot of these things for Garmin, Lowrance, and Humminbird. And then I think it's like 70 some pages of stuff. And everyone that I gave it to has come back, and as one guy in particular, he said that he used it and he took it out that first day and he was like, man, I actually understood what I'm looking at. Actually, I'm sorry, this was a paid customer, and he took it out and he took out his forward-facing sonar, and that was the first time he'd ever used it successfully. And he caught a bunch of striper and a largemouth. And it was a local guy there at Smith Mountain Lake. So I wouldn't be comfortable trying to sell a book to someone. And by the way, it has a money back guarantee. Like if you read it and in 7 days you're like, this is crap, I knew all of this. Okay, I get it. I'll just send the money back. But it's something that is helpful. But I'm also, again, trying to run a business. The price is still the price is $99.95, but it's still at half price at this point. It's $49.95 for like a 70-page course that everyone that has read it has had success with it. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. I think what you're doing there is good too, because like I say, you can go on YouTube and find a bunch of videos, but if you're not, the updates change, you know what I mean? And they'll show their settings, but for one, you don't know what kind of water they're on, you know what I mean? And all that stuff. And there will be some times you got to make some small adjustments. But there's the little things like you're talking about, the small things, like pausing the screen and making adjustments. And there's just things like that people don't understand. You don't see all that. And if you watch a video on YouTube, sometimes, like you say, a lot of the pros that are doing it, to be quite honest with you, I'm going to tell you, some of these pros ain't got a clue on how some of this stuff goes, because they will get with Garmin or Lowrance and have them set it up, and then they kind of just fine tune it a little bit. Some of them are great with it, some of them understand it, but some of them just fly through it so fast that it's really hard to understand why that setting does what it does. You know what I mean? So
there's other things that don't get addressed very often. Let's say it's springtime, the pollen comes out on the water. If you've ever tried to use forward-facing sonar when there's pollen in the water, it literally is just a shield of debris. Interference on your screen. You're going to put your transducer in the water. You'll be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with my unit? It's nothing. It's just the pollen. And there's just a few buttons you can click, clear that up. You can still see your bait, you can still see the fish, and you can eliminate the pollen. And we also address things like later in the day when the sun comes up and that water starts to clear, adjust your settings back, and how to know when it's time to do that, and show you examples on like when to do it, when not to do it. So all of that's addressed. I feel like it's really comprehensive. So I hope you guys get something out of it.
Awesome, man. Well, I like that idea. And like I said, we're going to have some links below here. If you're listening on iTunes or anything like that, I'm going to try to have the links in there, but definitely on YouTube and our Facebook and all that stuff, I'll have links down below for people to go check all this stuff out. So, but Dennis, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here. I loved hearing about your business and how I got started and how family oriented you are with it, and the family helps with it. I like hearing those stories. But and also, maybe next time on the water, take it a little easy on me if I'm fishing a tournament against you. Getting tired.
Anytime we fish, man, I'm like, we're gonna get waxed. Did you ever have that feeling? It doesn't matter if you're on them or not. Inside, you look around, you see the other guys tying stuff on. I never feel confident. Never. I mean, when I'm on the water, we blast off and it starts. I'm like, okay, it's me and the fish. Let's focus on that. But when I fish these bigger tournaments, the BFLs, fishing against the local hammers, Chad Green and all those guys, they're so good. Every time that I see them, I'm like, man, we got to deal with these guys today. But it's so cool. Once you make your first cast, all that goes away. But I feel it every single tournament I go to, man. I just feel like this is gonna be bad.
Blast off is always it's the funnest, nerve-wracking time of a tournament. After that, you can kind of settle in, especially if you catch one real quick. You can kind of settle in. But my buddy always tells me, if I go practice and I'm like, okay, man, I think I got something. I'm feeling pretty confident this morning. I think I got something. He's like, oh God, we ain't gonna catch him today. Because I do. I'm like, yeah. So, but Dennis, I appreciate you taking the time, man. We will talk with you later. And like I said, maybe we'll do a follow-up later on. If you got any new baits, reach out to me. and we can go over it too as well. So
sounds good, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Dennis. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, that's Dennis Stump. So make sure you go and follow him on Facebook. He's got his Facebook page for there, and then you can follow him on his maybe his personal Facebook too. I'm not sure, but I know he's definitely his business profile. He's got a lot of stuff on there, and then go check out his website. Like I said, I'll have the link and everything below for that. So, but no, really appreciate talking with him. Super great guy, very humble, and like I said, he's taking a lot of my money in some tournaments. You know, we fish Castaways and all that. When I fish Lee's and all of them, and I see him there, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't know if I'm going to win this one or not, but or have it. You know, I'm like, man, I think second will be good. I think we'll go for second today. So, but now, like I say, make sure you go check him out. He's small business, which is what we love. I like small business. I love hearing the successful stories of small businesses. It means a lot. So make sure you go check them out. Let's support them. Local guy around here in Smith Mountain Lake. So, but other than that, guys, I think we'll get off here. Make sure you go check out our new videos. James just did one. We just got that posted up. Him and Kevin Gunn was on Lake Anna. And then I just did one where I kind of had a tough day on Smith Mountain Lake, but I did catch a really nice striper. So make sure you go check those videos as well. And then I am working on our Heiko videos, which we caught a ton of fish down there. So make sure you stay tuned for that because, James's video will be out next Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday will probably be mine. And then we got some other stuff that's going to be coming up. So, but other than that, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. And if you did, please hit thumbs up, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to build up these subscribers on One Objective Outdoors. Make sure you go there as well and check it out. And also make sure you check out our website, oneobjectivebf.com. We got you covered with tackle. We got you with some tackle. We're getting more up there. We're slowly building that up. But your kayak rigging needs, your bass boat rigging needs, we're getting more and more stuff. We're working with a lot of different companies as well. So we got a little bit of everything on there now. So make sure you go check that out. So other than that, guys, we will talk to you later. See ya.